Manchester United 1, Manchester City 3. A horrendous performance from Manchester United, but there were some good things, some bad things, and some terrible things. Without any further ado, let's analyze. Okay, so let's start with the good. Now, all of us Manchester United fans have been disappointed by the result as well as the manner of the defeat. I think that Manchester City completely dominated us and completely deserved the 3 points. But one thing for sure is that Erik Ten Hag and his team came to the Etihad with a plan. Now, why that plan didn't work out, that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. But first, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, the good stuff. Marcus Rashford's goal. First of all, thanks to the broadcaster, we have this amazing POV of Onana, what he was actually seeing on the pitch. And here, as you can see, with his eyes, he's actually communicating with Bruno Fernandes. Now, you can see it much clearer right there. You see Bruno Fernandes looking at Onana and he's like, come on, bro, I know you want to execute that pass. And Onana, now that the pressure in the media has cooled down on him a little bit, finally we get to actually appreciate what a good goalkeeper he could be for us, because now he's making some important saves for us every week. He's keeping us in the game. He's keeping the scores respectable. But then now we can fully appreciate his ball playing ability. And look at this pass towards Bruno Fernandes, a player who, of course, has been known at Manchester United for making these runs in behind the defense. He loves making these runs into the box or runs into space. And this is no exception. Beautiful ball here towards Bruno Fernandes. What I like about this, again, is that the way he shields his ball from Ruben Dias, the other Portuguese centre-back, who is much stronger physically, but Bruno is determined to keep this ball. Amazing. And then now, with full composure, he just puts the ball in the path of Marcus Rashford, who has been on social media for the past few days because of the interview where he said, well, if you doubt me, then that's even better, meaning that he's going to prove people wrong. And I think that there is no better way to respond than with this goal. Look at this. Whoa, beautiful, amazing goal. Now, here is what's amazing about this, is that when I was watching the game, I knew clearly, because there was already evidence of what Erik Ten Hag's plan was going to be. But this goal, I don't think Manchester United were expecting to score this goal. So I thought, okay, Manchester United are in a very good position. They have a defensive plan, and then now they are 1-0 up. And you could see that the Manchester City players were actually shaken a little bit. They were not expecting this. They were expecting VAR to rule it out, but it didn't happen. That was a beautiful goal for Manchester United. Now, of course, this goal, coupled with Erik Ten Hag's defensive plan, could have given us the 3 points, or at the very least, a very respectable draw against Manchester City, the treble winners last season, in their turf. And here what Erik Ten Hag did is that anyone who watches Manchester City knows that they are dangerous here in the half spaces, both on the right-hand side and the left-hand side. Basically, they play with 4 midfielders, 4 attacking midfielders, basically. 2 players on the wings, in this case, Foden and Doku, and then Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne making moves into these half spaces. And it takes so many teams by surprise. But here, the way Manchester United were set up is that they had a compact midfield, and then the right back, or the left back in this case, with Lindelof, would go on the winger, and then our left winger, in this case Garnacho, and our left-sided central midfielders, in this case Kobbie Mainoo, would actually help plug this area and make it really tough for the Manchester City players. For example, here De Bruyne, a player way more experienced and way better technically, way more developed technically than Kobbie Mainoo. But here Kobbie Mainoo had him, he followed him, he blocked that pass. Same thing here. You can see here Diogo Dalot is on Doku, but then Varane stays close to Bernardo Silva. And as you can see here, Casemiro, Kobbie Mainoo, and Garnacho, they are ready. You see Bruno Fernandes as well is over here. They are limiting the space, constricting the space that the Manchester City players can use. For example, here, Doku is a very good dribbler, very potent player. Comes inside, but then Kobbie Mainoo is there. There isn't much space for Manchester City to exploit. But then, as you can see here, as the cross is coming into the box, there are a lot of Manchester United players. So basically, the plan was very simple. Stay compact. We sacrificed our forward positions, stay compact, and then restrict spaces on the half spaces to make it hard for Manchester City to score. And it worked. However, you could see that it was really putting a lot of strain and a lot of stress on Manchester United. Mainly because of this. I think that while Erik Ten Hag got that part of our defensive shape right, I think that he didn't get the way we press or the way we block off the passing lanes for Manchester City. Now, admittedly, it is actually hard because the Manchester City players are so good at creating those triangles. It's the positional play that Johan Cruyff and Pep Guardiola love. Manchester City are so well-oiled, well-drilled in this department. So it's very hard for Manchester United. However, we were at some point committing too many players forward. Like, for example, here, Kyle Walker with the ball. Now, as you can see, we have 5 players here. This is quite dangerous. And look, Bruno Fernandes, he's pointing to that space because he understands that John Stones is actually in a very good position to receive a pass. Why didn't Bruno Fernandes go and get him? Why didn't he go to block this space? I don't know. Why wasn't Kobbie Mainoo closer to him? I don't know. This is part of a dysfunctional setup from Manchester United. If you remember my Fulham tactical analysis video, I showed you exactly how Fulham were actually able to go through with this line breaking passes. And of course, if Fulham can do it, you can be sure that Manchester City are going to do it. One pass from Kyle Walker towards Stones. And as you can see, 5 of our midfield/forward players are taken out of the picture. And you don't want to be in situations like this against Manchester City with 5v5. It's impossible. It's extremely dangerous. Now, thankfully here it didn't lead to a goal, but this is how Manchester City were continuously able to just pull these balls into the wings, doesn't matter left or right-hand side, to try to maximize those spaces in the half spaces and try to find ways, try to unlock our defensive shape. And of course, it didn't happen during the first half, but we were so close to concede a goal. And of course here, I'm talking about that infamous Erling Haaland sitter right before the first half. And that's very important because that was the first indication that Manchester City were actually close to getting an opening. They were close to actually find the way to unlock our defense. Because I have to tell you something, with these kind of compact, defensive kind of shapes, not every team is built for this kind of football. You know, there is a reason managers like Simeone and Mourinho and Conte at Juve, for example, there's a reason they like experienced players who have some sort of grinta, you know? Players like Cordoba, like Zanetti, Materazzi, players like Chiellini and Barzagli, okay? So players like John Terry, Carvalho, right? These players, they enjoy defending. They enjoy it. They love it, right? And then they're fine. They can play for 120 minutes. Play on the back foot, they don't mind. They're secure. They've seen it all. They've done it all. They're tough, both mentally and physically. They have amazing focus. But I don't think that this is Manchester United. Our best defender this game, and I gotta praise him, Rafael Varane, has been amazing. I would describe him as a gentle giant. I don't think that he falls in that category of being, you know, a player that really can play this way for 90 minutes or 120 minutes. And most of our players are simply not made for that. So what happens is that the moment you make one mistake, one lapse in your concentration, and a team like Manchester City would just open you up, they would score a goal, score the second one, and that's it. It's game over. Okay? So here what happens, Rodri instigates this sequence, goes in wide towards Ake, and then Ake wide towards Doku. But here, what's going to happen is Rodri, because here we are still somewhat safe. As you can see, Casemiro is following Bernardo Silva with Varane occupying this space, and there is Garnacho. But here what Rodri, there is a reason why I consider him the best defensive midfielder in world football right now, is because of this move. Very easy. He just moves into this space, creating that triangle, making himself available. He is the number 6. He doesn't have to make this move, but he's intelligent enough to know that this brings value to his team. So he comes in there, and then we are in a situation where we are in a 3v3. That's not good. And he's able to receive the ball in this position. That was just poor positioning from the Manchester United players. A player of this quality is going to punish you. What he does, beautiful composure, beautifully executed pass towards Foden. And actually, this kind of play, Manchester City are well known for it. So I am baffled that none of the Manchester United defenders saw this coming. Goes towards Haaland, and then he misses it. Now, when this happened, we got off easy. Still 1-0 Manchester United, halftime. I thought that whoever is responsible for video analysis in the current Manchester United setup would actually show this to the Manchester United players and be like, guys, we were lucky not to concede the equalizer. We are lucky to be 1-0 up. But second half, Manchester City are going to come back at us. And they're going to try to unlock our defense using these same patterns. So be up for the fight. But that didn't happen. So now let's talk about how we actually conceded the goals. So obviously, this break right here that involved 4 Manchester United players, Scott McTominay as the ball carrier, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford over here, and then Garnacho over there. It's very important that you remember these players because of what happens next. So Scott McTominay goes for a through ball towards Marcus Rashford. This is the kind of position that you want Marcus Rashford to be in, but of course he fell off because of contact from Kyle Walker. I personally don't think that was a foul. You have to think about it this way. Had the referee given him a foul, Kyle Walker would have gotten at least a yellow, probably a red one, because maybe he was the last defender. So the referee was never, ever going to give that away. But what we care about here is not that. It's the fact that Marcus Rashford stayed there. You remember those three players, Scott McTominay, Garnacho over here, and Bruno Fernandes. All of them are back in position alongside Kobe Mainoo and Casemiro over here. But as you can see here, obviously there is a huge gaping hole. And whose hole is that? That's Marcus Rashford's hole. And he's still not back. All of these players, they have sprinted back and they have recovered. They have taken another breath, and yet still no Marcus Rashford. He's not injured. Where is Marcus Rashford? And as you can see here, Foden is going to get the goal, the ball. He is face to face with Lindelof, who is not the paciest. In this kind of matchup, Foden, 10 out of 10, is going to win this matchup. And so he does. Not only that, but Rodri again. What makes him amazing? With this run, he's taking out Scott McTominay with him. Therefore, he's opening up this space for Foden. This is such a rehearsed move. And it's just automatic. It comes naturally to the Manchester City players, but it doesn't come to our players. Foden cuts in. Had Rashford been here, McTominay would have followed Rodri without any consequences, because Marcus Rashford would have made it really hard for Foden to be in this position. Foden, that beautiful shot. Now, I have to clarify though. I am by no means saying that we've conceded this goal because of Rashford. But I'm just saying that had Rashford been here, it would have been much harder for Foden to score this goal, and we could have finished the game winning 1-0 or at least getting 1 point with a 1-1 draw. But this is why we conceded the equalizing game and goal. But of course, when that happened, Manchester City playing at home, you can be sure that they are going to come at us and they're going to fight until they get the 3 points. They are in the title race with Arsenal and Liverpool. So come on, this was just a matter of time before they scored the second goal. Now let's talk about Antony. I have personally given up on Antony. I don't think anything good is going to come out of Antony. So he comes in, replacing Rashford. Why did Erik Ten Hag do that? I don't know. He must have his reasons. I don't have all the information to tell you whether that was a good decision or not. In hindsight, it wasn't. Anyway, what is Antony doing here? Now, as I've shown you earlier, the key point behind our defense is to actually clog these areas right here. Why is Antony, and Bruno Fernandes actually for that matter, why are they pressing the Manchester City centre-backs so high up the pitch? What they are doing now is that they are leaving Foden free. But Foden is the danger. Ake is not the danger. Foden is the problem. And here, listen, he plays for Manchester City. They are our rivals, but you're going to respect how good Phil Foden is. I mean, look at this. The moment he gets the ball, look at him. He's with his hand signaling, just give me the ball. He looks, the quality of the video is not very good, so you cannot really see, but he's looking over his shoulder because he can actually know, or he can actually see 2-3 seconds ahead in the future. He knows exactly what he wants to do. And here, Julian Alvarez moving in, okay? And then Foden comes into this space. He goes beyond Casemiro, who of course doesn't have the legs. He doesn't have them in the 5th minute. And he definitely doesn't have them towards the end of the game. Beautiful pass right here. Varane cannot do anything. It's like one player who's trying to block the passing lane between two players. That's impossible. So our last hope was either Lindelof blocks it or Onana saves it. None of that happened. Manchester City scored the second one. Now, of course, I'm not going to talk about that Haaland third goal. I'm not going to talk about Amrabat's performance. That was just shit. All right, now before I let you go, I have 2 things to share with you. One which can be considered to the benefit of Erik Ten Hag, and another one which can be considered criticism of Erik Ten Hag. By looking at the lineups of both teams, the quality that Manchester City has compared to Manchester United is incredible. Plus, not only the starting lineups, by just looking at who they have on the bench. So many game changers. While Manchester United has Antony, we had 2 academy kids that have never played for Manchester United. We had Kambuala, who has played 3 times for Manchester United in his whole life. And so we lack experience, we lack talent, we lack players that have different skills that can be introduced halfway through the game and change the game for you. And of course, we've had so many injuries. Erik Ten Hag is playing with 60-70% of his first team at any given time. And so from that perspective, I understand. And we have to be realistic with the criticism that we give him. However, on the other hand, just over the past 2 weeks, teams like Luton and Bournemouth have actually given Manchester City a game. Now, of course, Luton lost 6-2, but they have actually given a very good account of themselves. Their possession stats were actually close to those of Manchester City, as well as their shot stats. Same thing with Bournemouth, who had less possession, but also had created so many chances. And both of these teams, they played with bravery, with courage. And the ball was actually changing hands between Manchester City and these teams throughout the game. Especially in the case of Bournemouth, that was actually a pretty close contest. And so the question is, if Bournemouth and Luton can do it, why can't Manchester United? What is it about Manchester United that every time we play Manchester City, it looks like we are holding on for dear life? And I don't know. I think there are many reasons behind that. I cannot go over them in this video. I think I'll need like a much longer video to go over those things. But why? Why is it that every time we play against Manchester City or Liverpool for that matter, it seems like we have some sort of inferiority complex? I don't know. Please let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Until next time, cheers.